Welcome to Business Insights. I am Alfreda Ambe-Bassi. You know our custom right here on Business Insights. We bring you engaging discussions, and today won't be an exception. We will be looking at investment opportunities in waste management and recycling, how it can stimulate Nigeria's economy and enhance its business environment. Before that, let's kick things off with the latest business news and market trends. Stay with us. Updates from Nigeria reveals that the bilateral trade relationship between Nigeria and the European Union (EU) has reached a significant milestone, with a total trade value exceeding €45 billion. This announcement was made by head of the EU and ECOWAS delegation, Samuela Isopi, during a visit to Nigeria. The EU expressed its commitment to collaborating with the Nigerian government to explore opportunities for investment and partnership, particularly in the presence of European companies in Nigeria. Minister for Budget and National Planning, Abubakar Atiku Bagudu, acknowledged the growing relationship and expressed the government's appreciation for the EU support, noting the importance of strengthening partnerships. Still in Nigeria, the Kebbi State government has allocated 70 million naira to support rice and wheat farmers in response to the fuel subsidy removal. Governor Nasser Idris of Kebbi State announced this financial aid during a meeting with the Rice Farmers Association of Nigeria, RIFAN, and Wheat Farmers Association of Nigeria in Berin, Kebbi. He emphasized the state's prominence in rice and wheat production and its commitment to enhancing agricultural productivity, stressing the importance of embracing agriculture as an alternative livelihood, and pledged government assistance where needed. Chairman of RIFAN, Alhaji Bello Barid, commended the governor's support and called for additional assistance to boost agricultural productivity in the state. Nigeria has officially joined the World Trade Organization (WTO) agreement on fisheries subsidies, signaling the country's commitment to sustainable fishing practices. This was highlighted by the Director General of the WTO, Dr. Ngozi Okonjo-Iweala, who noted the importance of re-globalization for a secure, inclusive, and sustainable future. The WTO's World Trade Report 2023 revealed that increasing regional trade integration could lead to a 29% increase in exports by 2035, with a specific focus on the African Continental Free Trade Area, AFCTA. This implementation is projected at a substantial surge in intra-African exports and a boost in the manufacturing sector, fostering diversification and integration into global value chains. And away from that, data from the National Bureau of Statistics has showed that Nigerian Postal Service (NIPOST) generated 3.01 billion naira as revenue in 2022, a 43.9% decline compared to 5.37 billion naira earned in 2019. The Bureau disclosed this in its 2022 postal services released in September. The NBS said the total revenue made from postal activities in 2022 fell by 17.05% from 3.63 billion naira in 2021 to 3.01 billion naira in 2022. It further dropped by 44% when compared to the 2019 figure. The agency said Nigeria had 2,794 post offices and postal agencies in 2021. However, by 2022, the number decreased by 19% to 2,251. Despite the decline in the number of post offices, the Bureau said the number of mail received from abroad and delivered in Nigeria increased by a whopping 107% from 9.4 million in 2019 to 19.5 million in 2022. In August 2021, the federal government unveiled plans to unbundle NIPOST into 3 viable subsidiary companies: a property company, a microfinance bank, as well as a transport and logistics company. Moving on, Egypt has unveiled ambitious plans to establish a fully integrated industrial complex for flat steel production, involving a substantial investment of $1 billion. The facility is expected to have an annual production capacity of 1.8 million metric tons of flat steel, catering to both domestic demand and global export markets. While the project has gained approval from the General Authority for the Suez Canal Economic Zone, the identity of the international company partnering on this venture remains undisclosed. This initiative comes as Egypt aims to grant licenses for rebar and flat steel production in 2024, attracting foreign investors to bolster local manufacturing and alleviate foreign currency shortages. Also, Russian metallurgical firm Novostal M. Holden has shown interest in establishing a steel factory in Egypt, further contributing to the country's industrial development. Macquarie, a leading Australian financial services company, and Columbia Asia, a prominent Southeast Asian healthcare provider, are among the potential bidders for the acquisition of Ramsay Sime Darby Healthcare, a healthcare joint venture valued at $1.28 billion in Malaysia. Ramsay Healthcare and Sime Darby announced their intention to sell the Asia-focused joint venture, and the results of the bidding process are expected to be disclosed in October. This move follows the failure of a previous attempt to sell the venture to IHH Healthcare. Macquarie has been involved in the healthcare sector since 2005, while Columbia Asia operates medical facilities across Southeast Asia. And moving on, French regulatory body for radio frequencies, ANFR, has ordered Apple to halt the sale of iPhone 12 models due to concerns over electromagnetic radiation levels. ANFR has given Apple a mandate to resolve the problem through a software update, and if that fails, it must recall all iPhone 12 devices sold in the country. The issue revolves around the specific absorption rate, SAR, for the iPhone 12, with the member SAR being above the allowed limit for phones in close contact with the body. Apple is contesting NFR's review and provided lab results indicating compliance with regulations on radiation levels worldwide. Stellantis NV, the automotive conglomerate encompassing brands like Alfa Romeo, Chrysler, and Jeep, is set to invest 3 billion rand, approximately $160 million, in a new vehicle manufacturing facility in South Africa. This venture will be undertaken in collaboration with South Africa's Industrial Development Corp and Department of Trade, Industry and Competition. The initial memorandum of understanding between Stellantis and the South African government, signed in March, has now been finalized. The official announcement was made during a meeting attended by key figures including Stellantis Middle East and Africa Chief Operating Officer Samir Shafan and South Africa's Trade and Industry Minister Ibrahim Patel. This investment is expected to bolster South Africa's automotive industry and economy. In India, the world's second largest consumer of gold witnessed a substantial increase in gold imports in August, surging by approximately 40%. This significant rise was attributed to robust festive season purchases, especially in the run-up to Diwali. The value of gold imports in August reached $4.9 billion, a notable increase from $3.5 billion during the same period the previous year. It's important to note that these figures are provisional and subject to change. This surge in gold imports poses a risk to India's trade deficit, which has already been under pressure due to escalating oil prices. The trade deficit may further widen as a result of this substantial gold import growth. We'll bring you reports from various stock exchanges, commodities, and currency markets after this break. Do stay tuned. Welcome back. In the recent trading session of the Nigerian Stock Exchange, there was a total trading activity of over 569 million shares in 8,404 deals, equivalent to a market value of 8 billion naira. This data represents a 12% decrease in trading volume, a 21% decrease in turnover, and a 20% decrease in the number of deals compared to the previous NGX trading day. The current market capitalization of the Nigerian Stock Exchange stands at 36.9 trillion naira. A total of 116 NGX listed equities were involved in the trading session, resulting in 34 gainers and 24 losers. Dangote Sugar Refinery led the gainers with a 10% increase in share price, closing at 57.20 naira per share, followed by National Salt Company, Nigerian Aviation Handling Co., and United Capital. On the losing side, Courtview Business Solutions had the largest price decline, falling by 10% to 0.54 naira per share. Followed by Associated Bus Company, Tantalizers and Len Africa. Owando had the highest trading volume with 143 million shares traded, followed by Access Holdings, Fidelity Bank and Transcorp Nigeria. At the Zimbabwe Stock Exchange, a total of more than 6 million shares were traded, equivalent to a market value of over 3 billion Zimbabwean dollars. This data represents a 50% increase in trading volume and a 9% increase in turnover compared to the previous ZSE trading day. The current market capitalization of the Zimbabwe Stock Exchange stands at 12.1 trillion Zimbabwean dollars. In total, 24 ZSE listed equities were active in the trading session, resulting in 12 gainers and 8 losers. CBZ Holdings led the gainers with a 14.97 increase in share price, closing at over 1 billion Zimbabwean dollars per share, followed by EcoCash Holdings Zimbabwe, First Mutual Properties and Mikos. On the losing side, Mazimba Holdings recorded the largest price decline, falling by 12.9%, followed by Sidco, Delta Corporation and British American Tobacco. Econet Wireless Zimbabwe had the highest trading volume with 5.08 million shares traded, followed by EcoCash Holdings Zimbabwe, Star Africa Corporation and OK Zimbabwe. In the latest developments from the commodity market, wheat is currently selling at 565.50 US cents per bushel. The price of gold stands at $1,912.37 US dollars per troy ounce, maintaining its stability. Silver is valued at $22.93 US dollars per troy ounce. Copper is being traded at $3.76 US dollar per pound. The price of Brent crude at the moment is $92.16 US dollars per barrel. In the currency markets, the US dollar hovers around 940 naira. The British pound exchanges between 1,185 to 1,195 naira per pound, while the euro is bought at 985 and sells for 995 naira. And that concludes our business news segment for today. I am Alfreda Ambe-Ibasi. For the next segment of the show, Blessing Eiche will be bringing you an engaging discussion on investments in waste management and recycling. Stay tuned to Business Insight.
Many thanks for staying tuned to Business Insight. Yes, we'll be looking at investment opportunities in waste management and recycling today. But before we do that, let's make some sense of the stock exchange report read by Alfreda Mbibasi. So, Jimo Latif, who is a stockbroker and financial expert, is in the studio this morning, and we'll look at the trading of yesterday at the Nigerian Stock Exchange. Good morning, sir. Welcome to the show.
Good morning, Susha. How are you?
I'm good.
Yeah.
All right, so looking at the data from yesterday's trading at the Nigerian Stock Exchange, we'll find that there was a 12% decline in trading volume, a 21% decline in turnover, and a 20% decline in the number of deals compared to the previous trading day, which was Tuesday, the 12th of September 2023. So what's happening?
Let me summarize what you said. The market yesterday recovers. You can see from the previous losses yesterday recovered to at least house share index gained about 98 basis points, 98% is 90 basis points, and the market had to react to some. It doesn't just stand on it, so react to what happened in the economy. So we look at what happened, but basically the reflection of what is happening in terms of maybe there is a problem of liberation. In terms of liberation, the people are not there. The disposable income is not there for them to actually invest. And you can see this in form. The investment speaks to what the economy of a country is going through. And look at from the sectoral allocation yesterday. I think the banking sector was whole green yesterday. If you look at the NGS banks, they gained about 450 basis points. And look at JAIS plus UBA, Access Corp, Unity Bank, Federal Bank, almost all the banks are in positive yesterday throughout this. So but in referring to the year to date, year to date is not worth it. Although the market deal in terms of value declined yesterday, but the volume increased about 21, about 11.9%. Though we have negative in terms of the value. So it doesn't mean that the market is just reacting to in terms of the volume, but the price that comes to the market may be lower. So which means, and from what we've seen so far, a lot of companies are declaring dividends. A lot of companies
at this time. Okay.
So there's bound to be a kind of markdown in the share prices because it has effect on the share prices. So people are now looking, because this is now what will reflect the actual price. By the time the NGX mark down the share prices to reflect the true value of your shares, the investor will look at what is happening in the market. It's not that the market is not positive, it's not in positive terrain, it's still in positive terrain, but people will want to, the investor will look at, okay, because this is sectorial, okay, which sector will I in? So based on the reflection, the true price of a stock. So this is where an investor makes his own decision. And look at the consumer good index too. They are very fantastic. Nigerian flour mills, NASCON, and Dangote sugar. You know, there's a deal between the NASCON and the... So all these
things, consumer goods also performed well.
They perform very well. Then, except in the oil and gas that we have a eternal hole and it's negative. And even the industrial good, in terms of CAP PLC, Cortex and WAP, except the Cortex that's negative, CAP has a positive of 3.6%. So if you look at all these things, you don't look at shares in its individuality. You have to look at the group. Because they won't make your portfolio. Don't invest. You have to invest in a negative correlation portfolio, so that if this one is doing bad, this one will do good. Okay. So you can't invest all your money maybe in the bank. You have to let me put some in banking, another one in consumer goods. Look at, you have to weigh your portfolio very well. You don't just invest for the. But to me, the stock market is still doing fine, and we expect sentiment to go on.
Okay, yeah. Tomorrow will be the last day of trading for this week, and though we haven't seen the report for today's trading because trading is ongoing at the Nigerian Stock Exchange, but what are your expectations? What do you think will be happening right now in the market, given the way yesterday's trading closed?
That's why I said it's a pointer, because you have to look at maybe 2-3 weeks trading. How does it end? We call it trend analysis. You have to look at the trend. Apart from the trend, you have to look at the market is there. The organic, in terms of the quantitative factor, in terms of, okay, what are the management of this particular company is doing. Okay, I'll look at it, okay, how well are this company prices are moving in terms of growth? Are they declaring dividends as when do so people I can close my eyes and invest in Zenith Bank or First. I'm not saying that, but I can invest because I know they've been consistently paying
the banking
dividends.
sector.
Yeah, I look at the current Dangote Sugar and NASCON. I look at, okay, because if you look at the mergers, it's very fantastic. For somebody, if I have shares in the Dangote Sugar, whatever, or DSR, what they call it, and I look at the rate at which they want to the share exchange between my own and the NASCON, I will jump into the deal.
Okay.
Because it has a long-term return, which I can recoup my return. The PE ratio is very short, and that is best for the investor.
Thank you very much, Jimoh Lateef, for being on the show today. We've been looking at the Nigerian Stock Exchange, talking about the trading of yesterday. So we'll wait for trading to conclude today and find out what the market is, and we'll look at that tomorrow. We'll go on a quick break now, and then it'll be time for us to discuss investment opportunities in waste management and recycling. Don't go anywhere. Business Insights continues after this time. Stay tuned. Thanks for staying tuned there. So we'll be talking shortly now with Professor James Akomo, who is a professor of water resources and environmental engineering. So we'll be looking at waste management and recycling. What are the investment opportunities in this sector? If you follow, or if you've been following, from Wednesday, we have been, Tuesday, we've been looking at investment opportunities. We began talking about foreign direct investment into Nigeria, and then we started looking at the areas where there are investment opportunities in Nigeria. So if you are an investor, just consider this series one for you, so you know where to put your money. Yes, they looked at the investment opportunities in education and training, and now we're looking at waste management and recycling. When we talk about waste management, some persons may think, what kind of investment opportunity could there be in waste management? For starters, let's look at waste collection. Oh, yes. So if you look around the city, if you live in Lagos, you find that at some point people indiscriminately dispose refuse, even though the government tries to ensure that there are trucks from the state waste management board that goes on to collect waste from different people, but it is still not enough. So that's one area that local investors, even foreign investors, can come into. And it's not just Lagos State. If you go around different parts of the country, talking about Nigeria, there are opportunities here for private individuals, for private companies to get into waste collection. And so this could be in the way of supply, maybe in the form of you supplying the trucks, the trucks for which the waste will be collected. So they could supply that, and it could also be in the sorting of the waste, because we have a system here where waste are just different kinds of waste are put together. So that could be in the segregation of the waste, sorting of the waste, so that different waste materials go to different places, and it's easy for recyclers, for those who want to convert that waste, what we call waste, into something else, into maybe fertilizers, into manure, composite manure, into some other forms, even to energy. Yes, you've heard about waste to energy, waste to wealth. So that tells you that a lot can be done with waste. All right, let's bring in now our guest, who is Professor James Akomu, who is a professor of water resources and environmental engineering. Good morning, sir. Welcome to Business Insights.
Thank you. Good morning. Nice being with you.
Thank you for joining us. All right, so I began talking about...
I hope you can hear me.
I can hear you clearly, yes. I began talking about waste management and recycling, investment opportunities. It's not something that will come easy to the mind of anyone when you talk about waste and then you talk about investment opportunities, because it seems like two different things. How come they're in the same sentence? Can you talk to us about the investment opportunities in waste management and recycling?
All right, thank you. Now, for us to go into investment opportunities in waste management, just as a recap, we need to actually recall what a waste is in any form. That waste, what we call waste, is something that's no longer useful to the owner. However, that what you declare as waste could be a resource to another person. So that brings us to the idea of recycling, investment opportunity, reuse, and so on. I take you straight to some of the cars on Nigerian roads. And the car that's in the other country, they say, yes, your lifespan should be 5 years, 10 years. We don't want to see such a car on our road. Here we come to Nigeria, is the brand new, is grade 1, Tokumbo, title you call it. Some people actually have invested in bringing such under different name, call it scrap, call it any name, to us. So when we come back to even the basic domestic waste that we generate, like you lay down the background, there are a lot of opportunities to have investment and business around the so-called waste. You did mention collection. There's also opportunity of sorting, like you did mention. The opportunity for you to have a transfer station. You can be truck owners where other people will hire to do that. You can be a recycler. You may be interested in baling, that is reducing the volume of the waste by investing in the baling system, whereby you say your own baling equipment can be at the dump site at different location that will reduce that waste before even they dispose it to anywhere it's going. Most of our metals, you see some of our Nigerians picking scraps up and down. Those things they are picking are also like investment on its own. Other people are buying it from them. You could even invest in such people who will go and do the picking for you. So there are a lot of opportunities. You could be involved in waste treatment. You can also be involved in final waste disposal, which are usually called burial ground. Probably you want to put every investment in sanitary landfill or incineration, pyrolysis, whereby you reduce the waste to minimum volume so that you can actually have space. So there are a lot of opportunities. And when you talk about waste investment itself, we always say waste to wealth. Even if you go to the what we call solid, the other one from the toilet and so on, people convert them to other things that you can use it. So there are a lot of opportunity. That's where we can actually go into waste. If I will use my own language, that the money from the sheets doesn't smell. And we need such a money to actually live a sustainable life, not being armed robber or corrupt our person. So the opportunity in waste investment. If you use Lagos as a typical example, I remember 1999 to 2001 thereabout, we bring this private sector participation in waste management. See many of them with their different truck, tippers, collecting, as then we are progressing to make it better. Lawman has been there, like you referred to. Some of them are just to bring those carts where you just drop it before somebody come and pick it. So there's opportunity investment. Let nobody believe only government will do it and you want a clean environment. There are a lot of opportunity for you to actually be rich and actually be happy doing what is actually legal and right to do. So there are a lot of opportunities in waste management investment, in business. There are a lot of business opportunities depending on what your eye can see and the fund you have. You could gather some of these locals together and be their champion. We just waste picker. That's an investment. They'll go and pick plastic for plastic, metal for metal, paper for paper. And you have specialists in different areas and they'll separate it for you. And then you can now take it further. I think these are the points I could raise for now. Probably we can move further.
Okay, let's pick it from government cannot do it alone. Looking at the aspect of waste collection in itself, it seems to be a duty or a job that government has taken upon itself and is doing by itself to a good extent. What framework would enable private participation so that you can have private companies that collect waste even before the sorting of the waste and the other aspect of the waste, the collection of the waste themselves? Is there a challenge in having private participation? Because from state to state, you don't really find much of private participation, even if you get to find private participation in waste collection. What are the issues around that? Sincerely,
as a person who has been involved for a number of years, I can't really see any issue than political. That probably let's use Lagos State as an example. I did mention 2001 through thereabout. There are waste collector framework are there, forms are there, and that's what we call polluter pay principle. You generate the waste, you pay for its collection and its disposal. I think Lagosian Nigerians will be willing and ready. And when you bring private sector into that, I say it's all or no, you are guaranteed efficiency and effectiveness. Because they will sign a contract whether with the local government or with the community, with the state government, the case may be, because there will be layers of those frameworks, which are actually, like Lagos as an example, they have it laid down unless somebody has withdrawn all those regulation laws that guide it. If you go to Lawman website, you see a link to the private sector participation and how people can go into it. What we need is just mindset change, that we can do it right and we can get it right. And I can assure you, waste collection is one of the major areas that take up a lot of money in waste management. Because by the time you collect, you are transporting it somewhere and move it to whether you want to recycle, transfer station, whether you want to pick from it, whether you want to sort. So there are a lot of opportunities. And there will be a recommendation for appropriate waste collection system, traffic, and the type of vehicle, type of truck you use, type of container you can use. There are some areas whereby you just need to be on the road, people need to come back. People need to come back to one point to drop. There are some house-to-house collection. They give you plastic or they give you waste bags where they will just come and every other Tuesday, every other day they come and pick and so on. And they can actually measure. Studies have been done in this area to know, okay, would they be positioned to pay? I can assure you, if the framework and the political will to follow it through, Nigerians in particular would love to do the right thing. So I am aware that, I use the good example, the framework is there. The framework is there. And if we have the framework there, we are in position to actually follow it up and follow it through. So ideally, in fact, you can pick it from local government. Because if we actually run the government we ought to have, whereby local government is a government on its own, state government is a government on its own, the cleaning of the environment will lie more in local government, not even the state.
Okay.
Because your environment needs to be clean.
The sorting of the waste, because what we find often is scavenging. Individuals scavenging dump sites and then sorting by themselves the materials that they need. If it's plastic, they pick out the plastic and then they just go to maybe some companies, sell them. Are there certain infrastructure that needs to be in place? If an investor is coming into waste management and maybe recycling as well, are there certain infrastructure that they would need to ensure a direct flow, maybe a chain? So from the collection, there is the segregation of the different kinds of waste, and then it goes straight to recycling. Or we can still work with the current way that we find it, which is scavenging.
Like I did mention earlier, scavenging may not only be encouraged. Somebody could invest on the so-called scavenger, and they have their association union and so on. Their way is just to go and pick those material. For those who actually want to invest, either in reuse or recycle or upscale or upcycle even the so-called waste to turn into another thing. So there's nowhere in the world where you see that you just encourage scavengers. What you need to do is to formalize their existence. And once it's formalized by the same government that create law, enabling regulations and so on, if you come to University of Lagos in particular, we engage people to pick our waste for us, about 2 or 3 companies with a truck. And at our dump site, which I always say we use as our laboratory, because as a model to say, okay, this waste is done in town and so on. You see people sorting out waste. If I'm interested in the plastic is there. Some are sorting electronics, related material, some are papers, they are there. Because, you know, in Nigeria, we do a lot of commingling our waste, mixing them together. If we get it right, there are different bags, different containers for different waste. You see red for this, green for that, and the grass will be there and so on. But unfortunately here, we commingle, we mix them up. So it will not need to create time for you to say, you have to separate and segregate them properly. And when they separate or segregate again, for those who are in plastic, there's also category of plastics. They will separate them in that line because they will know where it will be useful. So there's opportunity in those areas. So the process are there, well-defined guidelines are there for what the waste you actually want to separate or want to segregate. So scavenging itself, yes, you are very right. It's common because they need to live, but because they have markets where people actually need it also. So we can't just continue say picking them, go and jail them, punish them. Yes, we may see it as they are dangerous, we see, but we can return them to we can formalize them. If I'm investing in that, probably I'll just be one company that one is just to get this material. I will get license from the appropriate government agency or government, say, yes, this is our work. Like you are talking about investment. They become my staffs or my workers, and then nobody, at least you can see them, this is what they do. If I operate a transfer station, I employ people like that, so those scavengers will just come from anywhere to enter my station. So say speaking, that's not like that. You'll be seen as a thief or a robber that need to actually be shot immediately if it's possible. So, but we have an open system whereby everybody just want to survive. People just walk in and be picking. Nobody around the world where it works, you just encourage scavenging. We only need to formalize, give people opportunities to have investment in waste management, as you did mention, at every stage: the collection, the transportation, sorting. Those who are recyclers. I know in Lagos we have some of them. I know companies that actually deal with collecting plastic waste that they will now grind it again, billet it, and so on, and turn it to some of the things you are using. Some of the pads inside your car are from those wastes. Some of the hair our women are putting on are from plastic waste. They turn it later. So please, the opportunity is there. Scavenging shouldn't be the way. It's to formalize and people actually invest in such businesses. And I think Nigeria will be better if we do that. And the government should actually have that listening ear, have that understanding. Check around in the world where it is done. But one of the basic things also is polluter pay principle. We must find a way of introducing it. We should be ready to pay for the waste generated.
Okay.
Like I do tell people, now that you use prepaid meter for your electricity, nobody will tell you when you off your AC. You can't just generate waste and throw it on the road anyhow. It's not just punishment. Should not be run after how to punish people. People should be able to do it well.
Okay.
And when people do it well, our waste management, our investment in waste, investment in it will actually yield better fruit. So there are opportunities and there should be laid down rule. So scavenging should not be encouraged.
Okay. So you've touched on the regulatory aspects. A lot of regulation is needed to ensure that people do what they're supposed to do, from the waste generator, proper disposal, and then even to those who will collect the waste, not scavenging. Let's look at the technical and financial feasibility of some value chain of waste management. For instance, recycling. Is it something that is capital intensive? Do we have the technologies readily available for an investor to go into recycling of different kinds of waste, not just plastic, paper recycling, different, even the food that we throw away, the electronic material. Somebody has a television that is no longer working. How do we recycle the different kinds of waste that are generated? These available to potential investors, whether local investors specifically, because we'll talk about foreign investors, they may have the technical and the financial feasibility to handle this. But for local investors, these things that's available to them.
Okay, thank you for the issue you raised. But permit me to just be a little bit technical here or be scientific about it. The word recycled may not really mean the way we're interpreting it. A waste can be repurposed, it can be recycled, it can be reused, and so on. So when you are recycling, you are trying to make it back into form with which it has come from, to use that to become a raw material for you to use it. If you want to use it scientifically, the simple meaning of it. If I pick plastic bottle of Coke, I mean I want to use that same plastic again as raw material to produce plastic bottle of Coke. But when you are repurposing, or you are reusing, probably you are reusing it the way it is itself. So, but you know what we do here is people pick different metal together. Probably you go and melt it to actually for another thing entirely. So you're asking about technology, knowledge base. Yes. For now, I can tell you there may be cottage industry in all those areas. There may be investments in all those areas. But I think the environment is not too conducive for them. If you are talking about technology, if you go to China, India, there are literally two tools you can use to do all this. I mentioned baling earlier, that, okay, I need to pick plastic. And if I bring a truck that can actually take about, what's the volume? Instead of me carrying just 1/10 of it, if I reduce that waste by baling it, by compressing it to become smaller, it will take little shape, little size, then that truck can carry bigger quantity that I can now reuse or recycle or repurpose as the case may be. So there may be some level of equipment, there may be level of investment to be done. But for any recycler or anybody who want to go into that investment must know, okay, what do I really want to do? Some could be capital intensive. I think that some companies around Apapa area, who recycle, let me just say, they turn the plastic waste to different things, like foam, like your hairdo, other things, and so on. And you see them separating the one with white from the green, other color, and so on, because they can't just about to mix them together. And by the time they do all their processing, cleaning, washing, and so on, then they can even decide to put another color to make it look what they want to do. So the equipment, we may not have the manufacturer here in Nigeria, but I want to assure you, dear listener, if you go to Ilewi in Anambra State, most of these things can also be, people are producing, but the environment is not too conducive for them to survive. Until when our leadership politically and those in authority, and we decide to say, yes, we can make Nigeria good together. Like I do tell people, if we try to go into Nigeria assemble car, from the president down to whoever, to myself or you, once they break down, people will fix it. The Leyland in Nigeria before, the Volkswagen before, there are a lot of cottage industry that surround them. So they pick up these wastes too and actually recycle, take them to the foundry for them to use. But if the environment itself is no longer conducive, you can't put all your investment, and 1 or 2 years you have depression, you are going to stroke. So we need those supportive framework, and not, there are a lot of changes when government changes, you just turn the whole thing upside down again when the law has not been changed. So what will help is not just having technology itself, is the legal framework and effective implementation of it. We have the best of the law, best of regulations in this country. I can tell you in Lagos in particular, the implementation become issues along the line, and even when the law has not been changed. So people can also invest in that technology itself. The scientific people, the engineers and so on can go into that, producing those things locally. You want to produce a milling machine is within the ambit, but in the hand of the technician, the craftsmen on the road. So the opportunities are there. The opportunities are there, and technology abound here. But to move, for those who want to invest, even when you import them from outside the country, you must also think about the maintenance. Because not just to go and buy equipment, when it breaks down, you have to go back to China or India or UK for it to be repaired. No, we should be able to have the accessory part and so on. And if we're able to produce our own, it makes some logical senses that we can move further.
Okay, talking about producing our own, what about waste to energy? Can we do that? Can we have investment in waste, the conversion of waste to energy? What will be needed to make that happen?
Thank you for coming to that. Waste to energy is one of the simplest one, depending of the waste you want to convert to energy. Take cow manure, cow waste, and so on. At your slaughterhouse, in fact, you don't really need much than putting things together. You can generate your biogas. From that, you can generate energy that actually can power your house. You don't only place the bulbs. If you go to India, most of the rural area generate from this waste, from organic waste itself. So there are opportunities to convert waste to energy.
Okay.
And particularly the solid waste, some industrial waste, instead of just throwing them, can also be converted.
All right.
But what you just need to know
that
the chemical properties they compose.
It's good to know that we can do that.
We can.
A lot of investors have seen
at least
that.
My students do a lot of that, and so we generate this and so on.
Okay, these are areas that they can put in money and actually ensure that their investment run for them. Thank you very much, Professor James Akomo, who is a professor of water resources and environmental engineering, for talking about the investment opportunities in waste management and recycling. That's been the show today. We've looked at different areas of investment when you talk about waste management, from the collection point to the sorting to recycling to repurposing, yes, he mentioned that it may not be recycling. If you use the word recycling, sometimes it seems impossible, but repurposing, you can use one thing and convert it to another, and there are different other areas. Waste to energy, very key. It is an area that a lot of investors, local investors, there could be collaboration between local investors and foreign investors in that aspect, and there are so many benefits that can come from it. Apart from the investors reaping financial gains, the environment will benefit from it a whole lot. We'll have a cleaner environment. There can even be collaboration between government agencies and some investors to take care of these things. So that way we'll have a cleaner Lagos, we have cleaner cities all across Nigeria and the whole of Africa if this is implemented. So look no further for where to put your money as an investor. There are still other areas we'll point you to tomorrow on the show. So I ask that you keep it a date, make it a date rather, so it's going to be 10 a.m. tomorrow for other areas for potential investment. They have high yield potentials, and you will be sure that you have high returns at the end of the day. I am Blessing AJ. That's been the show. Keep watching Souq News.